Okay, now we're back, and I've decided that I'm going to do some Total War Warhammer 2. However, since the last time I played it, uh, there has been an update for some of the mods which I use, and this has resulted in the campaign, our Kislev campaign, having issues if I load it. This is mentioned by the mod developer, and I thought, well, it is a bit of a shame. However, there is other mods which I have since subscribed for and added to the list of mods which I would like to play with. So I thought, well, as I said, it's a shame, but I think we'll start a new campaign. I'm not sure what exactly yet, but perhaps we can sort that out in a moment. The mods which I added were... the mod which was updated, actually, was this one. Expanded Roster Greenskins Orc Pack. I'm not entirely sure what the difference was. If I have a look at it on Steam Workshop, I don't think it added any new units, but it might have just moved some of the units around, which resulted in it being incompatible. Where's the last post? Okay, update. Disappearing big bosses at tier 4 should now be fixed. This is a mod by Decomposed, which you can find on Steam if you wish to play it yourself. I recommend a lot of his, all of his expanded roster mods. He has some, he has them for a variety of different factions, and they just add some more units which are in the tabletop which aren't in the base game. Added experience levels to the boss camp. Okay, so having the boss camp gives you experience over time for your armies? That's pretty nice. Added items to the big bosses for custom battles. Okay. Biggin's shields reworked. Okay. And no more wyvern variations included. Use the varied monsters compilation instead. Okay, that's fine. I kind of prefer if they don't have a lot of variations of units, so I'm happy with that. Except for trolls. I mean, I suppose I'm being a bit of a purist in this regard. When it comes to what units the armies have, I much prefer them to have units based on what they had on the tabletop. This is not necessarily perfectly balanced, but it's my preference, and that's what my mod list is based around. I don't have any, as I mentioned, I don't have any major balancing of units overhauls, and none of my mods really add units which they didn't have in the tabletop. I do have mods which expand on factions and add units, add factions which weren't present in the tabletop, like Cracker-Drac or Return of the Lichmaster here. But this, even Return of the Lichmaster, is based off of an army list which was created by Games Workshop in an edition of White Dwarf at some point in the past. It is an interpretation of the army list, but it has some basis. The Norse Dwarves, or Cracker-Drac mod, I don't think Cracker-Drac ever had an army list, so that is fan-made. However, it is balanced towards the base game, so that's fine in my books. For most of the mods, there's a bunch which I haven't activated because I don't think they've been activated yet. No, they haven't been updated yet. New landmarks in the old world. It mentions that it's actually incompatible with other mods which modify the start pause setting in Warhammer 2 Total War. Don't worry if you don't know what that is. I don't really either. But from what I've read, it is a file, I think, which determines the positions of factions at the start, and it's used by landmarks in the old world to set the new buildings in the game, but it's also used by some other mods, and if you use mods which both edit that, then there'll be conflicts. So I've deactivated it for the moment, which is a bit of a pity. It added a bunch of unique buildings around the map. Ultimate Chaos still hasn't been updated. It would be nice if that is. Looking forward to that when that is. Why So Furious is additional Lords and Heroes. I'll have to look at that again. I do have GCCM Beta here. Now, I'm still not really clear on this. GCCM, the main part of it is the community mods, community maps, which were done and added to the game. And the base mod hasn't been updated since the last patch came out. And since then, a beta mod for it, as you can see down here, has been released with the intent that they're doing another pass of the maps to let the AI function better on them, because the AI was frequently having issues on some of the other maps. You know, not maneuvering their troops around it properly, getting confused. I remember one of the Norscan maps, even though it was a defensive map for the enemy army, if they're on the defensive, would always move their army outside of the walls, or such as the walls were, and position up outside, allowing you to just walk into the city and take the flag. So there was things to fix on the community maps. However, I'm still not clear exactly whether the main mod works with the game as it is without having been updated. Apparently they're hoping to do an update sometime in December. Or a bit later than that, which is kind of a while to wait. Or you use the beta pack, which is updated, but it's got many less mods in it. Many less maps in it, because they're going through them and adding them as they fix them. However, it is actually the main pack, I believe the 2 settlement packs, and the naval battles maps all in one. They've like compressed them all down into just one pack instead of having multiple, if I remember what I was reading correctly. So, I don't know. On the one hand, I was running a campaign with the mod pack, with the map pack, the original map pack. So we did have a crash at one point when it was loading a map. So, even though it's less maps, I might actually just switch over to the beta one. I mean, even though it says beta, I believe the maps are more stable than the ones in the base map pack. It's just that there's less, because they're going over them and adding them as they are reworked and edited so that the AI functions on them better. Also possibly doing some like frame rate passes to cut down on some of the details on some of the maps, because I remember some of them were they would look really nice, but frame rates would issue occasionally. Especially some of the bigger maps. Middenheim and Nuln in particular were massive maps. Nuln is a huge map. Very impressive, very detailed, and very accurate. But and I like the map being that big. It's a true city, but at the same time, it was kind of difficult for my computer to handle it. Anything else? I've activated uniforms and heraldry of the High Elves, so if we fight them, we will have the High Elves with their properly garrisoned, glorious shields. Uniforms and heraldry of Bretonia's mounts, I haven't activated. That hasn't been updated. The High Elves fortresses hasn't been updated either, apparently, so I haven't activated that. Kislev Warbear still hasn't been. That's about it, really. So, yes. I suppose we'll get into it then. No, actually, the mods which I added. The mods I added are, along with the OVN Lost Factions mod, which I believe I went over. Or did I go over in one of my videos? I don't think I did, actually. I think I did it on my own. What it is it adds a bunch of factions to the game. Which are present in the lore. They're not necessarily major factions, but it adds them, it gives them units. I think it's a compilation of multiple people's work into one mod. Some of the factions it adds are Araby, the Amazons, Halflings, what else is there? Oh, I can't remember all the other ones, but there's a bunch of little factions like that around the map which it expands on or adds. There is also the... where is it? A mod which adds the Chaos Dwarves. Is that listed here somewhere? There's this one, Flamboyant's Chaos Dwarf Invasion, which works with the Chaos Dwarves. There it is. Expanded roster Chaos Dwarves. This adds the Chaos Dwarves as a faction. However, they're not actually present on the map, I believe. If you just add the expanded roster mod, you'll have to have the Chaos Dwarf Invasion. I don't know what happens if you try and play as them. I don't know if you can. I haven't tried. But this adds Chaos Dwarves as a faction, which are probably a shoe-in for Warhammer 3 when it comes around. Chaos Dwarf Invasion is like the Chaos Invasion, in that at some point, the Chaos Dwarves will invade the map, and you'll have to fight them off. I believe first a whole bunch of greenskins come in a wave, and then the Chaos Dwarves invade. So that should be fun. So yes, I will start the game, and we will get into it. And I don't know, I'll have to decide which faction I would like to play as this time. I'll have a look at the ones which are available to us. I probably won't do a full campaign as whichever faction I choose. Just be having a look at their units and mucking around with them for a bit. Kind of like what we did with Kislev. Pardon any crunching, I am eating a biscuit. Okay, switch the view over. There we go. Oh dear. That's a bit out of whack. Come on. Damn you. Okay. There we go. Okay. Now. Everything's all set up all right, I believe. Let's go to new campaign. Mortal Empires. Because a lot of the factions aren't added to the Vortex campaign. And we can see all the new additions. So, we have a bunch of these. These are ones added by Prince Imric. These are ones added by Mixu's Legendary Lords mod. I was pointing these out when I was seeing them in our Kislev campaign. We have Prince Imric, Corhill, Belanair the Wise. There's also Melwyn here. Doesn't have a image. High Priestess Kelith. This is actually, yes. I believe these ones are actually added by the Lost Factions mod. So the Citadel of Dusk here. And then we have this High Priestess Kelith, which is the Amazons faction. Apparently they have some beasts available to them. I believe there are a lot of light infantry, which would be good at ambushing and all that. What else do we have? There's Count Gilua, Vampire Coast Mutineers. I don't know the difference of all the factions. There's this one added by Mixu's mod, Talaris Dreadbringer. Off-toss of the Dread King Legions. What else is there? Oh, we've got the Moot! We can play as the Halflings. Which is fun. So we can start with character Samwise Warfoot. I've actually had a look at this briefly offline. It will be fun to play as the Halflings. Plus 10 diplomatic relations with Darwi, men and elves. Darwi is dwarves. Minus 25 diplomatic penalty with Averland. There's an extra L there. Income from industry plus 25. Forces are resistant to chaos corruption, and income from trade plus 20%. Halflings are not good fighters. It's kind of a big joke. But it would be fun to play as them. You start with the Mootland, which is a single province in the Empire, and it's a small settlement. And you're surrounded by people who hate you. Averland and the Vampire Counts. We could do that. It is Sultan Jafar of the Caliphate of Araby. Pardon me. Araby is a faction which was present in Warmaster, a specialist game version of Warhammer Fantasy Battle. They're a... oh, what would you call it? Like a... you know, Arabian... 1001 Arabian Nights, Middle Eastern mix. Like Kislev. But they're present in Araby. They were a faction which quite a lot of people, myself included, were kind of hoping Creative Assembly might add as a DLC. But they've since said that they don't have any plans to, which is a bit of a shame. But this adds Araby as a faction. They have light infantry, archers, horse archers, elephants, ifrits, genies and so on. What else do they have? They have some spellcasters. They also have heavy cavalry in the form of cataphracts. The thing is that a lot of these minor factions for the humans, if they're not the Empire, they're kind of a lot more normal in terms of their army's composition. I mean, the Araby has ifrits, right? Fire genies. However, the rest of their army is a lot more what you'd expect from a generic medieval force. This is kind of because the Empire is powerful enough to be able to have the demigryphs and so on. Whereas, like, Estalia, Talia, Border Princes, they lack a lot of those. They don't have those monstrous units. They have cannons, and they have pikes, so they're a lot more traditional in what you'd expect for armies of the period. They still have mages. So I could actually show off the armies in the custom battle. I won't go through them completely, but it will give an overview of what their units are. Where is it? Does the Dread King Legions have anything different? Got Dread King? Okay, so they do have some unique things. Got Necromancers also. Oh, and he gets Graveguard? That's neat. So it's a mix of Tomb Kings and Vampire Counts faction units. Black Grail Knights. Crypt Horrors, Direwolves, Carrions, Fellbats. Yeah, it's a mixture of Tomb Kings units and Vampire Counts units. That's pretty cool. Heavier on the Tomb Kings units. Which makes sense since they're a Tomb Kings faction. But that would be fun to play as. There's Numus. Oh, that's by Mixu's mod. That's King Tutankhamun. So that's just a Tomb King's faction, but with a unique legendary lord. We can see the Mootland. Here we go. We have the Grand Enchanter, which is their wizard lord. They have apparently all the mages of the Empire available to them, as well as warrior priests. They have their infantry, halfling militia, wardens, press-ganged thieves. They have dryads. They also have master cooks, flagellants, Warfoot's band, which is a regiment of renown, Grand Cauldron cooks. They also have ogres, which is an interesting thing. Ogres are represented in this by reskinned orcs, which I think looks pretty good actually, because it reminds me a lot of the older older ogre models, which did kind of look like orcs. So it's a nice compromise considering they can't add or make a ogre model, which is based on the newer design. I've seen some mods add ogres as dwarves without beards, but that don't really look right, because they're just scaled up dwarves. Cool. Free company militia, halfling rangers, and lumpenkrooks fighting cocks, which is a dogs of war unit, I believe. They have hunting hounds, great eagles, treekins. They also have pistoliers. Hot pot catapult, Grand Cauldron hot pot catapult. Yeah, they have a catapult which throws a cauldron or boiling soup at the end. It deals fire damage. The Halflings have developed a crude catapult that hurls vats of boiling slosh into the enemy ranks with devastating effect. They also have Kathleen Soup Tank, a gift to the Halflings from the Elector Count of Averland. The Mootland folk have since made the steam tank more homely with the addition of a soup cannon. They also have Treemen, so they have backed up by some Wood Elf units, the Treekin Treemen and Dryads, which gives them a bit more oomph because the Halfling units themselves are kind of pathetic. There's also this, but I don't think you can play as these in the campaign. The Grudgebringers. Now, the Grudgebringers are from the old Warhammer Fantasy Battle game, Shadow of the Horned Rat, and also Dark Omen. I have played Shadow of the Horned Rat very briefly. From my memory, it's a very difficult game to play. It's quite hard. But I'd like to have another stab at it sometime. I remember the combat being mostly just pressing the button for rally over and over again. But you have Commander Bernhardt here, who is the main character of that game. Vladimir Stormbringer. I assume these are all characters from the game, because you would build up your band of units over the campaign. Asgard's Bloodfists, Dwarf Warriors, Elrod's Wood Elf Glade Guards, they're all like special units. Black Avengers, Countess Isabel's Guards, and so on and so forth. So that's neat that they represent that from Shadow of the Horned Rat and Dark Omen. What else is there? I've already shown off, I think. Well, we have Talia, Stalia, and Border Princes, and they have unique units. Unique skinned units. They have Pikemen, Halberdiers, Paymaster, Bodyguard. They also have access to many Dogs of War units, like Anacondas, Amazons here. Republican Guard, Cursed Company, El Katani Fellowship, so on and so forth. We have... Does Musalon have any new units? I believe they do. Fallen Night Lord. They also have the Red Duke. Dark Prophetess. Interesting. Black Grail Knight. They have themed units also. Skeleton Spearmen. Men-at-Arms. These are mutant humans. There's no escape, friends, for we are the lost and the damned. They have ghostly units. Crypt Ghouls. And a bunch of mix of like mix of Vampire Counts units and Bretonian unit. We have the Chaos Dwarves. Chaos Dwarf Overlord. Rykarth the Unbreakable. Zartan the Black. Sorcerer Prophet Shadows. And Drazhoath the Ashen. The Chaos Dwarves are a mixture of really heavy dwarf infantry and ranged units backed up by cheap, expendable hobgoblins. Maybe black orcs? Mostly hobgoblins, I think. Yeah, goblin slaves, hobgoblin cutthroats, orc slaves, chaos dwarf warriors with great weapons, sneaky gits, infernal guards with fire glaives, and sworn acolytes of Hashut. So, unlike the other dwarves, chaos dwarves actually use magic. They have the Shadows Prophet there, and Demon Smith of the Death Mage, and Fire Mage, and Metal Mage. So that would be pretty cool to play as. They have quite a lot of what's that? Zealot Berserkers. Okay. Black Orc Mercenaries. Immortals. Darizar Quarrelers. Devastators. Darwizar is the Dwarven language or Khazalid word for Chaos Dwarves. Annihilators. Naphtha Bombs, Infernal Guard. Hobgoblin Wolf Riders. Hobhound Ravagers. Bull Centaurs. There are some Chaos Dwarves which are Bull Centaurs. Because living in the high Chaos Corrupted areas which they do, they've actually got some mutations. Bull Centaurs Toruk. Bahal. Hobgoblin Wolf Raider Archers. They have Slave Ogres, Lava Trolls, Kadai Fireborn. Okay, and they have a lot of artillery as well. Bolt Throwers, Death Shrieker Rocket Launchers, Hell Cannons, of course, Magma Cannons, Soul of Damnation Hell Cannon, Dreadquake Mortar, and the Iron Demon War Engine. They also have some monsters, Great Taurus, Colossus, Lamasu, and Kadai Destroyer. A lot of nasty stuff to go up against. Where's something else which you could see? Caliphate of Araby. They have Arabian Sheikh, Sultan Jafar, light infantry which they have, the ogres again. Some missile units, dune nomads, and Arabian knights and cataphracts. Promethean hatchlings and dune scorpions, that's right. They also have the war elephants down here, which come in units, I think. Field Trebuchet, Howling Basilic Bombard, Ballista, and Ifrit. Yeah. Which would I like to play as? So many choices. This is why I like the mods. Let me have a look. What's that? Blood Dragons. Okay. Can we play as a Chaos Dwarf? I don't think so. That? No, that wasn't. There is several Araby factions. There's a Caliphate of Araby, which actually starts in what's it called? Aik, I believe. The Golden Magus here. Magus here? Magus. I believe starts at sea.